So you're here for the quick guide to the 5 love languages. This is a workshop. So we're actually going to be interacting with each other. So that's why I wanted you to sit together on tables. Hopefully you're going to learn about someone new. And we do have scratch paper. Make sure you have scratch paper and a pen or pencil. Or if you like using a digital tool, that's fine as well. Okay, my name is Angela Color Ready McGough. Color Ready like spaghetti. McGough like hawk. I am a counselor and the coordinator of the Employment Prep Center. I run workshops here at Llama, so you'll see notices in the daily bulletin if you're faculty staff or digital signage if you're a student. And I do individual appointments, so if you folks, Joey, Hone, if any of you need help with your resume, I'm happy to help you to do that, to find a job, write a cover letter, and to practice interviewing. So that's, so that is my role. You can find me in balance too, so we can talk about that after. I also am the chapter advisor for the NSLS, so the National Society for Leadership and Success, and I also manage career events. So today we're going to talk about these things: shared purpose, being seen and heard, expressing aloha, and then the 5 love languages, and then finally outcomes and implementation, because every good presenter has to find out if you guys learned something, right? It's part of our job. So I want to make sure you learn today. And so what we're going to do, it's going to be you two are pairs and you two are a pair. Monet is going to sit out on this side. And what we're going to do is introduce ourselves. So you have a partner and you have a partner. So you're going to give them your name, however you want. You can say your full name, just your first name, however you would like it. Mention where you're from. So it could be the city you were born in, or where you live now, or the region you're from. And then something memorable about yourself or your name. So my name is Angela Rose Colorado McGough. I am originally from Waikiki, Kapolei, Kankakee, like this area. I currently live in Kaneohe. And my middle name is Rose. I'm named after my dad's stepmom. So I'm named after a grandma, and my sister Harmony is named after a grandma. My sister Leimomi is named after a grandma and a Hanai grandma. So we all have, our middle names are women that were significant in our family. And that's it. So you want to make sure that you listen. So if you were introducing me, you would say, this is Angela Rose, Color Ready McGough, if you can remember that. She's from this area, lives in Kaneohe, and is named after her, one of her grandmothers. Okay, so the point is we want to listen, make sure you can pronounce the name correctly, and then we're going to end up introducing ourselves to each other. Okay, so hello. So you have a minute, literally. Go. Go.
Sure.
Name where you're from and something about you. And you want to listen to your partner.
I think that's I mean, I just got out.
Oh, Joe.
My grandpa's face, they don't know the name of and my dad in bus.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up. Did you get to introduce yourself? Okay, excellent. Okay, everybody. Now we're gonna introduce ourselves to each other. So I'll have you two, if you can, stand up and come on over here. Out of the camera. No camera. All right, so Mahalo. So why do you think that we did this activity? Why do you think that we started with introductions? Why did we introduce each other? What do you think the reason is? And the way that we did it? Greeting.
About information.
Yeah, and it's not just greeting, you're actually learning something about the other person, right? Great. Anything on this table? Don't have to if you don't have anything else.
To break the ice, get
Break it
everyone,
up. Right.
everyone comfortable, and it's easy to introduce yourself, but introducing another person is more memorable that way.
Oh, I love it. So what Joey said was, it's easy to introduce yourself, but when you introduce the other person, it's more memorable. So you're gonna remember, right, what her name means. You're gonna remember. Yeah, you're gonna remember what her name means. You're gonna remember that her name is Lynn, right? That's great. Anything else? Any other thoughts about why do you think that I asked you to listen and be able to state the person's name? Why do you think I wanted you to be able to state their name clearly?
Or pronounce them wrong.
Yeah, we want to pronounce it correctly.
You're aware that I'm calling you, you're calling.
Yes. And so you're showing them that you're aware of how they identify themselves and that you're paying attention, right? So that's kind of the gist of this whole workshop. It's not just about, we're going to learn about ourselves. We always want to know, what's my love language? What do I speak, right? The goal is for us to learn how to speak another language. And so this is an example of another love language. And so this is an example of getting to know someone else, listening and trying to find out more about them so that you can relate better to them and your communication then improves. Okay, so what % of workers globally strongly agree that they received recognition or praise for doing good work in the past 7 days? So what % do you think agree, yeah, someone praised me at work the last week? 5, wow. This generation goes slow. Last workshop, someone said 5%. Okay, any other guesses? 30? Somewhere between 5 and 30? You're right, it's 25%. So only 1 out of 4 people, only 1 out of 4 people have been recognized or felt like they received recognition or praise. I think that's kind of low. All right, what % of the working population around the world are looking for a job while they're working? What do you see? 50, you said what? 60, you guys, you're right on. It's 52%. So yeah, just over half the people that if they're working, they're already looking for another job. So here's what I'm saying. So we have this data here. People are not feeling recognized for the good work that they're doing. And then the work environment might be less appealing, especially after COVID. There was a lot of movement. And so we called it the Great Resignation after COVID. And now they're calling it the Great Reshuffling. So people are moving around, they're learning and even trying different careers completely. So as someone who's a co-worker and as someone who's a supervisor, as someone who works in teams, you want to make sure that you're recognizing people and that they're not going to just leave your team, right? You want to keep them. Okay, so how do we show these folks that we get it? To me, it's about listening. So most people do not listen with the intent to understand. Most people listen with the intent to reply. So I am guilty of doing this. When someone is talking to me, I'm like, I just want to jump in. I want to answer. I want to give you, speak. So what we're going to strive to do today is listen with the intention of understanding. Okay? So seeking first to understand. That's the first thing. And it's not easy because a lot of times we just want to listen, but we don't understand. Okay, today is understanding. So we're just going to think about this to ourselves. Imagine that you're going to school, you're living and working in a place, and this might have happened to you, where no one speaks any other languages you know. So just imagine what it feels like to go move somewhere where no one speaks any of the languages you speak. You're like, I'm doing that right this minute. Okay. It's a real situation. Yeah. Okay, so now let's think about what would it feel like if it was the reverse? So now you are the person, your language is in the majority, Okay, so your new coworker comes in and they don't speak the language everyone else around us knows. So now, what would you do differently? You're that person and the coworker doesn't know your majority language. How would you interact with them differently?
English.
Okay, so striving to find a common language. So, for example, English. Yeah. Okay. Let's say they don't know English.
Body
What is it?
Body language.
Body, like body
Body
language.
language.
Okay. Nonverbal communication. I love that. You're gonna figure it out, right? So there's some universal symbols, right? Someone said at the last workshop, emojis. I would use emojis, right? So yeah, so it's about finding that common ground and just figuring it out. And if I was the person who didn't speak the language and someone was trying to communicate with me, I would be personally grateful. You know, it wouldn't matter to me if they did everything right or wrong. Just the fact that the effort is made would make me feel welcome. So I'm going to shift gears and really quickly talk about Aloha. And this is something that you can find in, we're supposed to be almost done pretty soon. This is something you can find in the Hawaii Revised Statutes. It's actually in our state code of law. The author of the Aloha statute, basically, her name is Auntie Pilahi Paki, and every letter in the word Aloha actually has different meaning. So the first A is ahakai, and that means kindness. The L is Kahi, and that means unity, harmony. The third letter O is olu, and that means to be agreeable. The fourth letter is ha'aha'a, and that means to be humble. So humble meaning you're modest, you're not, you're very down to earth. And the last A is ahunui, and that means patience. But it doesn't mean you're giving up. You're patiently sort of waiting for the right moment. And so this is a description that she came up with of Aloha that describes sort of being open, kind, wanting harmony, being agreeable, being humble, and being patient. And so I think if we express ourselves with Aloha, we can't go wrong. Because we're coming to the situation ready to and willing to be either of service or to listen or to be communicative, right? So I stand in it. All right, we're gonna move now to the text. So the text that we're using is the 5 Love Languages. This book, I've been using this book since the 90s, which I heard is vintage now. Stuff from the 90s is vintage. This is a vintage book. So Dr. Gary Chapman he was actually a reverend and he did couples counseling, and he found out that the reason why couples were arguing is that they were speaking different love languages. So he came up with that term on the 5 love languages, and he's partnered with a number of people to develop different books. This one that I use is called the 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, and managing by appreciation, the MBA. So Dr. Paul White is his partner. I'm just for short going to call it the 5 love languages. Easier than saying the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. They're the same. So I'm just going to call them the 5 love. Alrighty. So we're going to do a poll now. We're going to have to run through this. So you're not going to have a lot of time to decide. You're going to just pick a letter. But if you pick a letter and you're not really sure, like maybe I picked A, but it might have been E, just make a little note of that. But we're going to have 5, because there's 5 love languages. We're going to go A through E, and you're going to pick one, okay? And I'll read them out loud. And then I'm moving to the next. Ready? Let's go. All right, so number 1. Of the following 5 statements, which do you prefer? Blank makes me feel valued. So A, being recognized for my achievements. B, being greeted with a hug or a kiss on the cheek. C, being recognized on a special day with a gift. D, hanging out with my coworkers. E, having a coworker offer to do something for me. So pick a letter. What makes you feel valued? A through E. And write it down. I got a letter? Okay. Because we're gonna fly. Show me again. Flying. We're flying. All right. B. So number 2, blank is really important to me. A, hearing thanks. B, sitting next to my coworkers. C, receiving a gift card as a thank you. D, people taking the time to listen to my ideas. Or E, trusting that something I asked to be done is completed. And this is in a work setting, so we're thinking about at work. So what is really important? A, hearing thanks. B, sitting next to my coworkers. C, D, pick a letter. Okay, number 3. After a large project is done, so your work project is done. A, I'd like acknowledgement for a job well done. B, I'd be the one giving the high fives or the fist bumps. C, I'd enjoy a small token of appreciation for my efforts. D, I'd like to go out to celebrate with my coworkers. Or E, I'd appreciate others helping me wrap up. Okay. And again, you can get a copy of these slides after. Okay, number 4, when I'm feeling stressed, blank would help me feel better. A, encouraging words. B, a hug from my best friend. C, someone taking the time and effort to get me something I like. D, people listening and showing genuine interest in what I'm saying. E, others helping me get things done. Okay. Number 5, I need blank every day. A, to hear positive feedback. B, to physically interact with people. C, to feel appreciated with a tangible reward. D, to spend quality time with people. E, to know that my coworkers are willing to help. Okay, number 6, almost done. I value blank. A, written or verbal praise. B, being physically present for others. C, achievement awards or bonuses. D, being listened to. And E, a cooperative environment. And number 7, I feel special when people go out of their way to A, tell me I'm doing a good job. B, give me a pat on the back or a hug. C, make a personalized gift for me. D, make time to spend with me. Or E, help me without being asked. Okay. Everyone got 7 letters? 1 to 7? Yeah. So now you're going to count the numbers. How many A's do you have? How many B's? How many C's? It's okay if you have 0. How many D's? And how many E's? And the letter that you have the most of is probably your love language, the love language you like to speak. And the letter that you have the least of, or the letters, are the language or languages you need to learn. So does anyone not have a clear number 1? So do you have 2 number 1s? Yeah. Okay, that's common. About 3 or something. 3. Okay, good. Yeah. So let's see what they are. Okay. So A is words of affirmation. That's A. B is physical touch. Okay. C is receiving gifts. D is quality time. And E is acts of service. And you probably have 0s. Does anyone? You definitely have 0s because you're 3, 3, 1. Right? So those are the ones we want to pay attention to. The ones you have 0, that's the ones we need to pay attention to. So we're not speaking that language. Okay? All right. Okay, we have less than 15 minutes, so I'm gonna move on. But before I move on, I just want to say this. We all have all five, even though we might have some zeros in one way or another. So whether it's at work, we might have more of one than at home. At home, at home, we might have, a different love language because we're speaking to different people. Over time, it can change. Sometimes with children, they have one love language that they're very strong in, and then over time it changes. So these things, they're in flux, and there isn't one that's better than another. Okay, yes, ma'am.
This is for work.
Yes.
I don't know if that B would be like the best.
Oh, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
I love it. The faculty member in the room pointed out B. Okay, we're gonna discuss it. I love it. I love it. Alrighty. So let's talk about words first. So words of affirmation. These are people who you guess they like things verbally and written. So either praise in person with words or an email. They try to avoid criticism. So for someone whose love language is words of affirmation, if you gave them 90% praise and 10% criticism, they would remember the 10%. Okay, so that's how it is. How can you tell that this person prefers words of affirmation as their love language? How can you tell? Right? So they talk or they write a lot, and what are they saying when they're speaking? So they're speaking, they're like praising. So they're giving you a compliment, or they're like, I just did it the other day. Oh my gosh, I love your shoes. Like words of affirmation, they're verbally and in writing. They recognize people. They recognize other people in that. Okay, so that coworker who's always has something positive to say to you or about you, probably this is their love language. Okay, so now if this is not your love language, we need to think about how do we speak this language if we don't use words of affirmation? How can we do it? So some ideas. You want to be specific. So you can say, great job, Beth, good job. That's okay, but it's not very specific.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to be more specific. You did a great job on the, I really liked it when you, especially with children, right? You want to be very, very specific. And that's when the person feels the praise or recognition. You also want to be sincere. So something to think about with all of these, not just with words, is that if you don't have a healthy relationship with the person you're talking to, they will not believe that you're praising them. It'll be like, yeah, right. Even if you're being sincere. So the point is that you have to recognize that different situations will have, different outcomes based on your relationship. Any other ideas? So let's say at work, how do you recognize someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation?
Greet them. I write that for
Yeah, greet them. Yeah, they want to hear.
yeah, that.
Yeah, hey, nice to see you. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Any other thoughts? If you work together and you're on email them something.
Or charity.
That is a different love language. We're going to talk about that. So she was talking about being more authentic and caring. For this person, yes, they can tell, but they tell it by the words. So the words we use, right, have to be authentic and caring. Yes, yep. But there is another love language that's very similar to that. So the next one is physical touch. So now in a work setting, people, we're not touching people. Monia works with me. Can I use you as my example? She's afraid now. So I can touch her on the shoulder, elbow, or hand, right? Appropriate, nowhere else. Okay, so unless you have a relationship with them and you've cleared it, and it also depends on the context, right? So when you're in a environment where it's actually polite and expected that you're going to greet with a kiss on the cheek, even if you're not this kind of person, then or you can just tell them, I'm sick, or I don't do that or whatever. You don't want to offend them, but definitely it depends on the culture, the circumstances, the location. At work, we're not going to be physically snuggling up with anybody, okay? Even if you're married to them, don't do it at work. So, how can you tell though that this is your coworker or your friend's preferred love language? How can you tell?
Or like fun, often, or
Yeah. Yes. Do you folks know those people? They're like always kind of jostling you, or like, high five or a hug, or those people. I have a sister like that. My story is when we were driving, when we lived in California, when we drive from LA to the Northern California area, if she was driving and talking to me, she would go like this. I would have a bruise by the end of that 5-hour drive because she's so like, and she's such a touchy person. So that's how you can tell they're touchy, right? So how can you speak the language? You have to be, again, authentic, right? Warm, supportive, positive. We also have to consider the culture level, like I mentioned, hierarchy, right? But what if you're not a touchy-feely person? How can you speak this language? Like you have a very clear area around you that nobody should enter, but your person is a physical touch person. You do too. What do you do? You're like, I don't know, that's why I'm here. What is that?
Wear gloves.
Wear gloves. Okay, yes, post-COVID. It's like, hang on. Hey, that's cool. Someone else said also emojis. Like you can use things that show, for example, if you're online, right? You can use expressions. Now we have reactions, right? Hearts or, hugs. Like I'm always putting the hug kiss in my emoji, but I would never really hug and kiss that person. Air hugs, right? Air hugs where you're expressing that you would be touchy-feely, but you're not actually physically interacting with them. So you have to be creative. It's hard to speak a language you don't speak. So we have to give some effort and be creative, right? Okay. Receiving gifts. Now, gifts don't have to be expensive. So the person who speaks this love language appreciates and recognized with something tangible. So it's a token of appreciation, something little physical that means a lot. So how can you tell that this is someone's preferred love language? Do you have a coworker or a friend that's always bringing you stuff whenever they see you? They go away, they come back, oh, I got you this. Yeah, that's a gift. That's a little gift, right? So we all have people in our lives that do that. And so now you're like, that's their love language. They went somewhere, they came back, they thought, I want to give someone something. Yes.
Which one, like, that's the popular one, it's not their love language, but it's like it's expected.
It's expected, yep. Yep.
Omiyage.
Omiyage, yep. Yeah, or if you go to someone's house, like, you gotta bring something. Absolutely. It has, so it could be a cultural expectation, but it also has a benefit because now you're speaking a love language without, even thinking about it. But it developed from somewhere. Somewhere someone felt it was important that you bring things back. Someone felt in the culture that you're in that it was important you show up with something in your hands, right? And so we're going to take that idea, that aloha spirit, let's say as an example, and bring it into the workplace. So you notice your friend is always like baking you banana bread. Maybe one day you show up with like a carrot cake or so, So it's the idea of like seeing that someone is speaking this language and then trying to mirror that back to them. And of course, keeping and respecting cultural traditions. So if it's expected, you better do it anyway. Okay, good. So we kind of covered how to do it, but the gift that the person values has the most impact. So I don't know if any of you have ever received something and you're like, I would never use this in my life, right? Like, why'd you get me this? Okay, If that person's love language is giving gifts, don't tell them that. I've made that mistake with my partner. He was not happy when I was like, this is so impractical. Like, no, that was wrong. His love language is receiving gifts. So now what do I do? Oh my gosh, thank you so much for thinking of me. I can't believe you found this random thing at Ross that I'm never going to use. No, I can't believe you found this. This is amazing. Thank you. Let me start using it right away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you definitely have to show that you appreciate it. And if the person's love language is giving gifts, then you want to give them the gift that they value. So in reverse, I show up with something random from Ross for my husband. He's like, thanks for thinking of me. It's a change, but it's really, I would never use this, right? So you want to make sure that the person values the gift. If this is not their love language, then it could be negative. So at work especially, you're like, here, gift card, thank you, job well done. They're gonna be like, I didn't want a gift card. I want it to be in the newsletter. You know what I mean? So you have to think about it. Sometimes it could be negatively perceived. And we already talked about ideas of to acknowledge someone that prefers to receive gifts. Okay. So moving on, quality time. So this is the other one that we were talking about earlier. This is someone who prefers being with and doing things together, but they want your undivided attention. So we all know people like this who get offended if your phone beeps and you check it when you're with them and they're like, you're not listening to me. So they want people to take the time to understand them and their feelings, but really like that one-on-one undivided focused attention makes this person feel valued. This is not my strong suit. And when I'm in a work situation, sometimes I'm overly obsessed with what's on the screen and I'm not paying attention to, my student. So how can you tell that this person values quality time?
Or the monk coming together.
Like they want to get together.
When they ask you to spend only two people.
Yeah, just the two of you. They're like, hey, you want to hang out? You're like, but everybody knows. Yeah, we want to make sure that's not creepy. But yeah, they just want to hang out.
Yeah.
And so for those of us in higher education, this is the student that always pops up. And you're like, oh my gosh, taking time this week. And we don't have class every day. But this is a person who wants to spend quality time with you, right? Now, in order to show that you understand quality time, you want to make sure that you're providing quality. So even if it's just 5 minutes, if it's a 5-minute quality interaction, that's way better than like a 30-minute scheduled appointment where I'm staring at the screen, right? So in a work setting, some ways that you can spend quality time is inviting them to go hang out, right? So out of work, that's one way. Are there other ways you can think of?
Asking someone
Yep.
more valuable.
Yeah. So spend quality time, away where you can have the authentic conversation. This is the person that wants that authentic you, right? So if we have to have boundaries too, right? We're not going to be hanging out, like I'm not going to be hanging out. Well, maybe I would be, but I shouldn't be hanging out with my students at a bar, right? So, so what I want to do is find the place where I can, or invite them to have a one-on-one meeting with me, just them. And I'm not doing it for everybody, right? So that might be appropriate and appreciated. Yeah. Spending that extra 2 minutes after class. So again, we have to think about all the other things around us, but we want to also think about how can we show this person that. Okay, acts of service. So this person is motivated by making sure the environment is stress-free. So the reason why they like to serve is because they want to help create a stress-free environment. How can you tell that this person's love language is acts of service? Any ideas?
Volunteering.
Yeah, they're always volunteering.
Um,
Yeah,
The person, their actions, themselves.
their actions.
They prefer actions.
They prefer
Speaks
actions.
loud.
Actions speak louder than words. Okay, yeah. So an acts of service person speaks louder than a words of affirmation person. Yeah. So this person, maybe if they're acts of service, but not words of affirmation, they're like, do, don't say, just do. That's a good point. And then they're the person that always jumps in, like you have hey, it's our birthday celebration, it's September birthdays. And then at the end, that person's already like, oh, let me throw this away. Let me, do you want to take this to go? Like they're just jumping in and helping. So in order to speak this love language, you need to recognize that this person, they're used to doing this, right? So they're not going to ask you for help, but they do appreciate it because that's their love language. But here's the key. You want to make sure that when you give the help, it's not because you have to. It's you volunteer to do it and at the same level of quality as they would do it. That's super hard. So does anyone have a person in their life that always is the acts of service person? Have you ever tried to help them? How did it go? You're that person? Yeah? Do people try to offer to help you? And then are you like it? Oh, nice.
I don't appreciate help.
Yeah, you're not gonna ask them to help you. Yeah.
They do have help.
Right. Ah, yes, I love the confirmation. So she said that if they jump in without being asked, it's very much appreciated. But if you do ask, you're gonna say, I'm okay. No, it's great.
They can refuse.
Yeah. Because oftentimes that person's gonna refuse. So my suggestion is that you don't ask like, can I help you? Because that's a yes or a no. And I say no. You're gonna say, okay, what can I do? Do you want me to do this? Do you want like direct me? Tell me what to do. You're not giving them a choice. And then they'll be like, I did this recently. I was like, I just sitting here, what can I do? I was at my advisor's house and he hands me the olive oil and a bottle. He's like, here. I'm like, okay. I'm the worst pourer. If he doesn't know, I spilled oil all over that sink. But I like wanted to be of service because he was of service, right? So you definitely want to do your best effort. Questions? No? Okay, I see smiles. So we're just about to wrap up. So what I want to know is how you're going to use this in your life. So I wanted to remind you before we move on that aloha, it's an act of expression. So it's something you express either non-verbally, verbally, through gifts, through service, through time. It's something you do, right? So I'm very cerebral. I think about these things all the time, but actually gotta get out there and do it. So if you're interested in practicing this at home, at work, in your life, and you want to check in with me, I'm always curious how my workshops have gone. And did anyone actually implement the things that I taught, right? So if you're willing, there is a survey that you can complete. And that is basically saying, did you learn? Did you learn anything? What can I do to improve? But also, do you want to check in? So in a month, I can check in with you and say, took the survey, the post survey, right? So post survey. Take the survey again, and what did you do to implement the 5 love languages? So if you're interested, if you're not interested, that's fine. I do also ask, because I'm so grateful that Guy allows me to do whatever I want. That's an SOS workshop. I'm like, I want to do the 5 love languages. Like, all right, let's schedule it. So please fill out this evaluation. This goes to the library's SOS workshop. And does anyone have any other final questions? Final questions? I'm Angela. Look. There are references in the slides. And again, I'll go back to the very first one so you can see my contact info also. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.